So we're going to start. So compliance without the headache, how AI and automation transform different type of SOC2 and ISO 2701, HIPAA, and other regulations. So we're going to go look into that today. We're going to do a quick overview of that.
What is the ISO 2701? What is that about?
We're going to get into that.
Okay.
We're going to our call of action today. It's compliant. Isn't just a burden, but it's a competitive advantage when you actually know how to use it as a tool. So I always suggest companies not seeing it as a headache, but as a tool and as a competitive advantage. AI today can turn out audits very quickly when an auditor is asking, or a client is asking, or a supplier is asking for information. And obviously, it can boost your sales too if your current client needs these type of documents. You can easily find them. So it's pretty cool that you can do things like that. There's a way that you can start right now by analyzing gaps and pick what tools you want to do, and then you can launch a portal, or you can launch different portals and start working on that. And then the idea is to turn compliance for not being a headache, but to be like a sales weapon, a secret sales weapon. Key frameworks and overview. Here we find different type of norms that we have right now. The ones I want to give you guys some example of. There's many, many, many. It all depends what industry you're in. So first you have to know what context you're in, what type of industry you're in, and where are you located. That will tell you what type of frameworks you need to comply with. Okay. So now we have SOC2, which is anybody that wants to be a service provider that has data or sensitive data, they need to comply with this. Okay. So most apps that provide a service, so they need to comply with SOC2. Data security too, like when you're taking on maybe credit card information or payment information, it's also a good framework for you to start with your application. And then ISO 2701 is all about information security standards for international requirements. So if you're going to sell overseas, I suggest you looking into the ISO 2701. And then we have HIPAA, HIPAA.
HIPAA.
U.S. regulations to protect medical information of clients. So like my friend, Dr. Gustavo, his industry is a health industry, so he needs to look into that. Then we have other ones like the European Union, which have data privacy and some other data rights. You got to look into it. So it's also a really good market, especially to have your copyrights. Anything that's copyrighted patent, it's really good to have it in Europe. Okay. So GDPR, got to look into that. Then this is a kind of quick overview of what different type of things you should look into it depending on what industry you're in. If you're in manufacturing, ISO 901 is great for quality. They're probably also going to ask you for ISO 1401 for environmental or other environmental ones, and ISO 4501, anything that has to do with health and safety. You have some experience with quality control and compliance, so it's pretty good too. Then you can also give us your insights on this too.
Yep. Also, something that I want. Well, yes, ISO 9001, 9001. It's an overall system where we're evaluating all the processes, not just at the production level, but all the processes that are involved in the manufacturing, or all the processes of the company from the moment of receiving, evaluating the reception of raw materials, the quality of the suppliers, their performance, our internal performance, our internal evaluations of all the different processes, and of course the evaluation of the finished goods. And lastly, which is actually one of the main one of the main pillars of the ISO 9001, especially the 2015 edition, is risk management and customer satisfaction. With ISO 1401, then it's a more environmental approach, and on the sustainability and the different processes that where manufacturing can become more efficient at the environmental level. ISO 45001, I'm not too familiar with it, especially with the occupational health and safety. I am assuming it's somewhat mirrors of what is called the good manufacturing practices, or GMPs, which, as being part of the cosmetic manufacturing industry, it's also an additional point that to take in consideration where for the manufacturing of cosmetics or fragrances or anything that is involved in the beauty industry.
Awesome. So you see, depending on what type of industry you're in, there's different compliances and different frameworks that you have to comply with and do all these things. It kind of becomes the law of the company, right? That you have to follow. So for healthcare, like we said, we have HIPAA for US. Then we have for health data, we have ISO 27799. And you always have to look at your local health ministry regulations to also follow those. So very important. For retail and e-commerce, we also find very important the payment and security, and also the SaaS, anything that has to do with apps and services. Tech and cloud services, also like we said, SOC. So as you can see here, logistics and supply chain, they also ask you for SMETA, which is also ethical trade audits. And they also it's also very similar to occupation health and safety, but they look into like child labor, and if you're actually paying them on time, if you're paying them fair pay, if you're doing like upscale, like if you're motivational like programs for your employees, if you're actually have qualified employees and you're giving them the right training. So they look a lot. It's a huge thing. Then look into energy and utility. Yeah, no problem.
Go ahead.
And for general business, there's also other ones. One that I was looking into that I thought I was very interested is the ISO 22301, which is giving a continuing to the business. And I saw this as mostly risk assessment too. And it's also very good to have for you in order to get more funds and give your stakeholders more confidence on your business. Then we're going to look into how to identify like what type of frameworks I need. So like I said, look into your industry. Maybe you are in various industries. So take a look into like what type of industries you fall into. Try to find all the different type of compliances and use AI. You can use Gemini, ChatGPT, give it a nice prompt. Be like, this is my industry. I'm looking to match standards and find the different type of risks that I have to comply with, and what are all of these have in common. Then look online and see what type of tools have those standards that you're looking for. Request demos. If you can't find one that fits what you're looking for, use AI. You look for an engineer that can come up with a system, a web system, or a tool that can help you with these. I suggest going with businesses that are already focus on this, because they're always up to date with compliance. So you don't need to worry about looking every year and what's new and updating your system. But you can just rely on a company that can do that for you. So give me an example for the packaging manufacturing, ISO 901, ISO 1401, like we said, ISO 2701. Those are like the main pillar ones. For a startup, for an SaaS, a startup to provide services, SOC 2, GDPR, and ISO 27001. And for retail chain, we got the PCI one for that we talked about, and everything that had to do with payment and security. Then we have how to start a business and build compliance. So define your compliance goals. You know, what are our compliance? Then where are we now, and where do we need to be in order to be compliant? Choose the different tools. So if you look into the Vanta, Strata, OneTrust, there's many other ones just like it. It's just an example. We're not sponsored by them, and it's not affiliated or anything like that. I'm just giving you guys examples, giving you guys tools. Then we have map your system and integrated APIs. After you're done with all this information, roll out your policies and then train your team, and then just continuously use the app or use your tool to monitor your business. These are going to be like your security guards, your AI agents looking into your data and finding any type of risk that you may face. So to go back to it, so when you first start to define what type of goals of compliance you need, then you find where are you now and where you need to be to in order for you to comply. You choose your tool. I had there two tools, Vanta, Strata, and OneTrust. These are just examples. And then you map out your systems, you integrate them, you do your own policies, you train your employees, and you continuously do monitoring. Sometimes people get really scared when they talk about compliance or an audit, because sometimes you got a bunch of spreadsheets, emails, manuals, all these things all over the place. So what would be the most beautiful thing is that when you're ready for an audit, it never happens. They always come whenever it is not expected. So
Yeah.
they always come at the worst time too. So that's why it's so important to always be on point. Customers and legal pressures keep increasing, so audits are becoming more expensive every time. And there's different frameworks coming in. So there's different with this whole new AI, this whole new change of how we do business. There's going to be a lot of new compliances and a lot of new things that we have to do, and that is going to take away time from our business. Yeah, right. From focusing on business logic and what actually makes us money, right? Let's just say this is a good tool, this is a good framework. We always have to look and find what's up to date in order to be in compliance and have a competitive advantage. Compliance, the only word scarier than audit. Then we have benefits. When you're mapping out your system, when you're already picked out, you can map out different up to like 35 plus different frameworks automatically. So imagine you having automated chat GTP agent looking at your data and having it all organized for an audit, and always checking to see if you're compliant or not. So it's pretty cool. Now people don't have to do any evidence or send any emails. Everything's centralized. So imagine how it would change if you don't have to send any more emails or you don't have to send any more screenshots. Everything's already there. Imagine you having a live customer portal where you can download your reports, you can do different testing, you can do different questions. And then you can risk the tracking, registering personal access logs and change history. You can have all these things that can help you guarantee that you're compliant with the information. Everything here is about data. So risk tracking is super important. Team efficiency, less firefighting, more focus on the real security. So that's also a good thing about the benefits about compliance and automation. Like there's some frequently asked questions about this. Some people say, does automation make 100% compliant? No. It doesn't mean that if you have the super tool, super intelligent, super thing that you're already compliant. Nope. This is just a tool that you have to use. You got to feed it. You got to framework it. You got to, you know, you got to integrate it with your business. So there keeps your audit ready, but it reduces errors. How much does it cost? Like you could start at $20 a month with some of these companies. So it's nothing super expensive, but I suggest you have it, as your framework for your business. Um, and then if you're choosing the right framework and you need to change, so also look into tools to automate updates, controls, and alerts. So always look into how you can control and throw alerts with these systems. It's great for you to set that up. And it says, can I add industry specific standards? Yes, that's why all these softwares are custom framed to your business. So all of these are specific to anybody's industry if you do it the right way. Can AI redact sensitive documents? So like, let's say you have social security information. Let's say if you have credit card information, address information, health information. These tools can also grab that information and not show it, delete it, not be in the server. So it's really cool. Like you can also still comply with using these. They have a smart redact server. That's what it's called. You can look into it. It's pretty good. Um, what are all of these compliance principles? If you look into this, you have different type of access control is like the main goal: encryption, audit logging, risk management, and policies. They audit you on this, right? So you always have to comply with one. If you're failing at one of these, you gotta assess it, right? But these are like when an audit comes and it's gonna check your databases, your system. He's gonna the first thing that they're gonna ask is, access and control. Let me see your access and control procedures, right? Let me see your encryption of your data. Let me look at your audit logins. Let me look at your risk assessment. Let me look at your policies and your training. All of these things that they're going to ask for. Like I said, again, this is just a step by step of what you have to do when you're starting a new business. It's a review again of what we talked about. And then this is an example of how a system like Trust Portal, which is a demo that I made with AI. I said, hey, AI, I did a prompt. There's many businesses that in the future they're going to need a program where it's a compliance and we're going to need these type of things. So here you see the different type of sorry about that. The different type of regulations that you have to comply or the business is complying. And then in these ones, you request the system to give you reports, to show you your policies or your procedures, and then frequently ask questions or request certain information that you don't have for another department. And then you can look also at your key performance indicators, your incidents report rates and your annual security training sessions, or maybe your downtime, depending on your business. So this is just a small little example of what we did with AI to give you guys a framework on how to start your business and comply. You don't want to be wasting. On the first webinar, we looked at where you should focus your time and money on what type of business models. And then in this webinar, we're focusing on how to comply, so you're not wasting your time, and then when you get sued, because you're probably going to get sued, you know how to react, and then you can also have a competitive advantage because you're complying, and it gives you a good framework for you to focus on what really you need for your business.
Yeah. I also want to add that compliance is also reassurance. It's not just you do things by the square, but it also gives you a framework of when things go haywire. It gives you a way of how to mitigate the risk, how to contain the risk, and what actions you can take internally or externally to be able to actually avoid situations where you can get that they can get more problematic.
Correct. And that's why it's really cool to use norms and compliances, because they're tools. They're tools that are already systemized, that already work. I mean, people that know a lot about this, they made it. It's like you're inventing the wheel. It's already invented. These are use it. They're tools. They're free. And when you're using AI and when you're using Gemini, it becomes so powerful, because you can easily do a checklist, ask a question about a certain thing and how it has to do with that compliance, because you got an auditor asking you for compliance. How can we show? So I feel like in my experience, I've been audited. My last audit was in SMETA. We worked very hard with the team. We had weekly meetings. We pretty much did everything. But honestly, at the end of the day, like, AI was such a good help, helping me organize the information and helping me come up with what is the root cause and what type of plan of actions we should have in order to comply. So I thought it was an extremely cool tool to use. Most of the entrepreneurs, most of the people that I talk to don't know about regulations. You ask them about regulations and laws, and it's just like, oh no, talk to my attorney or talk to HAs. No, you have to know. You have to be a leader, and you have to take your company behind it and have everybody comply, and you comply too. If you show them that you comply, then it's a good part of leadership, and everything falls into part. So it's very, very cool. Ending it, we're going to talk about some news in this aspects. HIPAA, there's new rules. So if you are complying right now, go and look, because you're probably not complying, or maybe you still are. I don't know. Go look. There's different requirements that you got to do. There's annual audits that you have to do now. You got to do vulnerability scans every 6 months, and there's a stronger vendor oversight. So look into that, because things are getting tighter, and it's getting harder to get into the industry. So it's very important for everybody to stay up to date with those regulations. Then for the European, as actually making it a little easier for companies that are 750 employees and less, there's a more relaxed rules. So there's also to look into that. When I told you about copyright and patents, it's good to go into the European Union and take advantage of these situations. And then we have different tools like Fox Smart Redact servers, compliance automation platforms like we talked about, Vanta, Drenta, Secure Frame. These are just examples that we found online. You can do more research, and don't hold me accountable for anything. These are just examples. In our next webinar, we're going to be talking about Kickstarters. Okay. What is the best thing about coming up with a new business? If you get a Kickstart and you get some money, that is the best thing, man. You don't have to, bam, you're already getting some money for your idea. So we're going to talk about how to do a Kickstarter, how to do multiple Kickstarters, how to automate Kickstarters. What do you need to do? What's the framework? So now we have business models, we have a good framework, and now we're going to Kickstart, right? So now we're going to talk about Kickstarters, how to start a company, ideas for Kickstarters, and what type of compliance apps. We're going to do a demo for our friend, Dr. Gustavo Ortega. He has a health and fitness app that we're doing with Codex, with AI, and we're going to incorporate the compliance app with his app. So now there's 2 apps. And we're going to show you guys an example of a Kickstart. And yeah, that's going to be it. So thank you so much. I think we have come to the end. We have about 4 minutes left. So if you have any questions, any suggestions, anything, we're open.
Yeah, no. Always looking forward to the next one. to be able to continue learning from these workshops and see how far it can take us.
Yeah, there's definitely a goal to keep pursuing on these little workshops. I think I always learn something from them, even though
Mhm.
I don't prepare for them. There's
Mhm.
no need to prepare. This is a workshop. This is a webinar.
Yeah.
We learn from each other's experience, and the idea is for people also to learn
Mhm.
and to be better at their job and to come up with new businesses. That's the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I think then just like how we are focusing into compliance software in this one, it's also good to truly do a field investigation to truly know all the different regulatory the different regulatory bodies. Their also their scheduling should be something that needs to be added on the on programs for compliance. As you know, each of the regulatory bodies have their periods of revisions for their guidelines. That's also, that should be also a good part of the development as well when taking that in consideration. For example, like for ISO, there is always there is always a period of auditing and the sizes of auditings. Like for example, you will have like 2 years of surveillance, which is a mild audit before actually jumping into a full audit where evaluation is actually a deeper goes into a deeper aspect, and then you go into the next phase, which is a recertification, as ISO 9001 to a 9001. Um, it required a 4-year recertification, which is a complete reevaluation of the systems. So that is also something to take in consideration, especially when we're talking with SOC, ISO 2701, HIPAA, GDPR, and actually be able to stay up to date. Which it's also it's an advantage at the end. It's a big effort for each organization. Sometimes organizations truly want to focus onto growth in different areas than this, and this is normally left behind. It's one of the last things that is left behind. But in reality, it's one of the most important. It's actually one of the most important to continue holding, attracting, and actually continuing the business with big established clients. That can bring pretty much 60, 70, 80% of the business of the revenue in a company.
Everything that you're saying right now is really, really valuable because with your hands-on experience, you get to learn like why are these companies emphasize and spend so much money on compliance
Mhm.
and what are the benefits, and you see them, and you see that if you don't comply, I mean, how can you grow within the organization? How can you give the organization continuity?
Mhm.
We have talked about an ISO one
Yeah.
about giving it continuity. ISO 22301. Look into that one if you really like norms. Look into that one. It's very, very, very cool. As an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
I think it's a very good framework to start with.
Mhm.
It gives you a really good assessment on where you should focus your time. I think time is one of the most essential things that we as entrepreneurs we don't talk
Mhm.
about, and we're emphasizing on time right now because we're talking about AI and automation. So when we talk about AI and automation, the idea is for us to have time in order for us to create new things and not be stuck on doing the same things
Mhm.
over and over and over again.
Right.
So thank you so
Yeah.
much for your time, and we will see
No,
each other on the next webinar we will be having every Wednesday. And guys, we will be having this on Friday at 4:20 p.m. See you guys later. Bye.
Funny.
Peace.
Peace. Peace.